We are at Ryerson University. I will be speaking about social media marketing to a class today, and I'm really excited because, as you guys know, I actually dropped out of college in my second year in 2008. So to be speaking to a university class is really exciting for me. I hope to fuck up the conversation and really disrupt it and bring all of the heat to these amazing students, and I'm really looking forward to just killing it today.
The idea is not to compete on price, it's to compete on value. I think in the future, these companies will be there'll be a team of much smaller agencies. And each of these agencies will focus on really specific things. They'll target really specific audiences with really specific problems that you can't hire a $5 person to do.
My name's Herbert. Most of my time is spent running a marketing company called Wonder Shuttle. We work with technology companies to tell their stories through content marketing and strategy.
Raphael, when did the idea for the Canvas series come and when did you actually execute?
My first 2 or 3 episodes, I only sent it directly to I think 15, 20 people. It was just my way to create content, share with people who I think are my target listeners. My number one criteria before launching any piece of content is really ask myself, is this something I would consume, right? Because if the answer is no, then that this is a waste of time for everybody, right?
Hey everybody, it's Raphael Wong here, founder of the Canvas Series podcast, a podcast about up-and-coming entrepreneurs and creators and how they're designing their life to build momentum and get results. The show and platform and company is all about unpacking the systems and practices that everyday people are using to really get the results that they're after in their life.
Pauleanna, I imagine at Forbes, they don't just hire willy-nilly, they don't just bring on senior contributors who are doing $5 blog posts. How did you get that gig with Forbes?
It literally kills me when people are willing to give up after a year. Whether I got Forbes or not, I still had that burning desire to write. I got that through honestly having a mentor and a sponsor. Having a mentor, having someone advocate for you can mentally and physically change the game. The big companies with Foundry 29, their headquarters are in New York. So I used to take a plane, train, automobile by any means necessary and go broke just so I could be in that ecosystem and have the conversations with the right people and get invited into the right rooms.
To add on to Pauleanna's point, I think that mentorship is really, I think everybody's recognizing the importance of it right now. But one thing to consider as well is it doesn't need to be a person. So you don't need to be beside them for them to be mentoring you. A lot of people write books. A lot of people have dealt with the same problem you're dealing with probably 100 years ago in a different form. I mean, everybody's one email away. So if you ask them one question, maybe they'll respond, right? But if not, then maybe books or interviews, and YouTube has a bajillion lectures. So it's just about finding those people.
Any job that I've had in the past, it's because I've been able to bring a problem to the table. A solution to the table. I studied the company, the dream company, or the individual or the executive, and whether through my content and through by way of example, I was able to solve a problem in their world, or I brought a problem to the table when I emailed them for an informational interview.
And so in addition to having their portfolio, they're creating the maximum amount of leverage to get their dream job. Now some of them are already getting offers, but some of them have reached out to me and asked, hey, I don't know what to price for this sort of thing. What advice would you give to these students on how to set their initial price?
Don't make your number high, make it high as hell. Because it's so much harder, when you lowball yourself, it's so much harder to backtrack and climb up.
You should also think about when you're pricing your services, right? What is the how do you work the math to understand the value you bring to your client, right? Because often they may not be very savvy to understand how this piece of content leads to revenue, which is really why they're doing it. So if you can work the numbers on average for your content, you get this many eyeballs and this many listens or whatever it is, right? Convert that to conversion rate, convert that to the price points of their product. You can kind of justify, okay, this piece of content, I can make you X whatever dollars. I want to charge a percentage of that.
I had the same question. I was asking him okay, so how much money do I charge this guy? And he was charge him $100 an hour. I was what? Just right away. Yeah, $100 an hour. And I was okay, fine, right, fine. And so I think the first person that I actually said that to was okay, sure. And I was that's unbelievable. And then you just move up from there. When you think about it, $100 an hour is not a lot of money because the amount of time you spend interviewing, prepping for the interview, traveling, coordinating, all this stuff, takes time. It ends up being around $20 an hour.
Yeah.
So $100 an hour to start off with, if someone's asking you to consult. If you're asking them, then maybe a little less to begin with. But the other idea is also to do free work until like you get to a point where they're like, okay, what's your rate? And you're like $100 an hour.
How do you overcome that fear of giving a number that's so big and being told, now we're going to find someone else?
It just takes one person to say yes for you to realize, oh shit, like I can do this. I think doing the math in your head also helps, like realizing it's like not actually $100 an hour. You're like, oh yeah, I can totally do it, right? There's definitely HubSpot consultants or Google ad consultants that make like $500 an hour. So it's not unreasonable for you to try to make $100 an hour. Don't negotiate against yourself.
There will be people who say no, and that's cool. Maybe they're not your target audience anyway, or maybe they can't afford you. Like that's like not your issue. You know what I mean? Like there's so much other business and so much other money out here to get. So just like take it, like learn from it, and move on. When I wrote my first novel, I released it in 2014. It took me 4 years to write. I probably had about 32 rejection letters come in from publishing houses from the United States and here. Fast forward to last year, I had an executive from to reach out to me saying that they wanted to commission me to ghostwrite projects for their celebrity clients, right? So I had 32 no's, and now they all want to work with me as a celebrity ghostwriter, right? So like, you gotta stay the course, and like, people are entitled to their opinions, and you have every right to look past it. I get a lot of emails and DMs and people asking me, like, they want the formula, right? I wish more people would ask me, like, what are the sacrifices, the discipline, and the level of mental toughness it took to get to where I am. And everything else, I feel like can be learned, but the mental toughness, working on that part of it, that's what's really helped me get to where I am.
The guy who did Netscape, this guy Mark Andreessen said this. He's like, you either want to be in the top 5% of whatever it is you do, one thing, or the top 25% of two things. Being the top 25% at two things is much easier and also allows you to blend those two skills together in much more interesting ways and makes you really unique.
You know, say you're reaching out to someone, and whether it's to get someone, for example, you know, on your show, or you kind of want to partner or promote yourself, what should you include in the email for you to stand out and to actually get a reply back? It doesn't necessarily, like, maybe they don't have to participate, but as long as you actually, like, establish that connection, you do get a reply back. What should you include in the email, or kind of key phrases or words do you have to say that, like?
So get to the point quick. I would say don't ever be afraid to follow up. A lot of times when you're pitching to high-profile people or writers or editors, they're inundated with so many emails. We always appreciate when you bump the email to the top of our inbox. And so I send my emails like either at midnight or like 6 a.m. Because I know like they're either like falling asleep, the last thing they'll see is, you know, on their phone, or when they wake up in bed, they're scrolling. Honestly, like 98% of the time, I get a response. Follow the person on social media and engage with them first. Get in front of them. So I've been following her. I would comment on her posts. I would retweet her shit, right? I would get in front of her so at least she saw me. When I emailed her, the first line I said was, you know, it's been really cool engaging with you on social media. I really love this post on X. Right, so immediately she knows that I'm paying attention. I'm like in her arena, and that like I obviously like I got a response from her.
One thing I would encourage you to think about is to really think about how you can be genuine about that engagement. Now, there's no bigger pet peeve than seeing someone drop 2 emojis and expect like some sort of engagement or like follow. Like that's not gonna happen.
My dad always told me the weak person waits for an opportunity, the strong person creates their own opportunities, and then the smart person takes other people's opportunities. Gauging the trend and then like figuring out how to help a company or how to help yourself do it will make you a good amount of money. If you're active on LinkedIn and you have like people you know and stuff, and you notice that they're your second connection, you could ask whoever's like the mutual connection to forward your email along.
Well, that's actually very important. So like if I want to get on a TV show, like my friends are going to consist of the producers, the costume designers, the people who also make decisions and can get me in the door.
Pauleanna's Instagram motivates me, she motivates me, and it's very clear to see from your Instagram that you've created, and you're constantly creating pieces of content that are building the Pauleanna brand. Aside from Instagram, what are some other ways that you're using content to grow your business?
One thing that that's very, very important to me is to be vulnerable. Be willing to show my audience behind the scenes and show relatability. How can I like genuinely connect with somebody? How can I tell stories and create cool content? On a basic level, it's effective communication. So like I also listen. So I ask questions, and it's a two-way conversation. It's not just me like dumping my shit like onto my audience. It's like, what do you guys want to hear? What do you like? Like it's I make them, they're very much involved in some of the choices that I make for my brand.
The event just finished and I was able to meet some really interesting students who are very passionate. I love people who are ready to take immediate action, people who are curious and imaginative. So it was, I love being in the classroom because it reminds me of what I was like when I was their age, and I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation with each and every one of the students.